Hey everybody, this is Robot here from Vespa Motorsport and ScooterWest.com. For all things Vespa, check us out on the web, ScooterWest.com. Here we have two new styled racks, specifically for the Vespa GTS. And more specifically, they are engineered to perfectly fit the 2020 and later HPE GTS. They'll fit all years of the GT, all the way back. The frame mounting points are pretty much are the same for the rear rack, regardless of the year. But there's both a folding rack and a new fixed rack with a grab handle on it. And both of them mount up exactly the same as the stock grab rail or the factory flat rack. And we'll go into installation of both these racks. Pretty straightforward. Watch the prior video of all the new Faco GTS specific accessories. They include a folding rear rack, a flat rack for the rear, a folding front rack, and also a new set of crash bars that specifically fit the newer GTS. So only 3 basic tools are needed for installation. This is standard number 2 Phillips screwdriver, a T30 Torx driver to remove the existing grab rail, and a 4mm Allen wrench. It could be the L styled shape key that's included with the whole set of Allen keys, or it can be a T-handle such as something like this, 4mm. So here we have a brand new 2020 Vespa GTS. Go ahead and open the seat. Go ahead and pull the under seat bucket out. And we're going to start by removing the standard grab rail that's found with nearly every GTS. So the T30 Torx driver. Go ahead and loosen the 2 fasteners that hold the 2 frontmost mounting points of the front rack or the rear rack. And it is possible to lift this plastic and you can slip the rack out from underneath there. Alternatively, you can remove this rear plastic surround. Let's do that in the sake of making it easier. Remove the fuel cap. Keep in mind when you don't have the fuel cap on, you kind of have a little bit of a fire hazard if there's fuel in there. These are typically M5 fasteners, but ironically, the T30 Torx driver works perfectly fine for these kind of fasteners. So if you have an M5 Allen key, probably works a little bit better, but this works just as well. Just make it a little easier. Again, in a pinch, you don't need to remove the plastic. You can lift the rack, but I'll make it a little easier so you can see what's going on and remove this plastic surround right here. And there's a rubber ring around the gas fill. So what I found is you could just lift the whole the thing out, then you could pull the plastic right off. And on these newer scooters, they do have a rubber hose. That's an extra drain hose for the fuel. I'm just gonna leave that off to the side right now, not disconnect that hose. But you can see it right there. That's only found on the newer scooters. If you do want to remove it, why not? I'll show you. So you just squeeze the tab and you pull that right off that little spigot. Next, we'll remove this little embellishment on the back, a little chrome plastic embellishment. Phillips screwdriver does the trick. Just have a single screw that holds that in place. And underneath here is the 2 mounting points for the rack. Get the correct driver to T30. Be extra careful not to slip. Last thing you do is if you slip on this one, you're gonna damage your the paint finish. So typically I just like to break both of them loose. And be careful, have your hands on the rack as you loosen the last one, because the other thing that may happen is the whole grab rail will just slide down the back of the bike, potentially damaging the paint finish. We're going to go ahead and install the folding rear rack first. They both installed nearly identical. You can watch the end of the video to see the flat rack go on. The hardware kit that's included with the folding rack consists of a pair of longer rear mounting screws, lock washers, flat washers, and these special thick washers that have like a dome to them. The idea of these dome washers is they do go between the rack and the frame, and they kind of help equalize the load on the rear of the frame so it doesn't damage the rear of the frame, kind of lifts the rearmost mounting point. So set up the hardware, you pretty much just put the split washers and the flat washers, and you do the same for both. So split washer, flat washer, and we'll do the same with other bolt. We'll start by dropping both the bolts through with the washers, and the tricky part, kind of holding the pair of washers in place. So we'll put the dome up, kind of the beveled area will be facing up, and you can kind of hold them with one hand, then situate the rack where you end up lining up the pair of fasteners right underneath over the holes, and just kind of hover it for just a moment until you can get these started. And so it's pretty critical you get the angle correct, get these started. Don't just go in there and go to town with a power driver of some sort. I have seen these fasteners strip out before on the backs of the frame. I've had the repair. I've had people put too long of a screw in there and puncture the gas tank. Not a good thing. And so once you get these started, do that. Next we'll go ahead and get the frontmost mounting points started too. So as with any new accessory, they don't always, not everything lines up perfectly. So you want to just start all the fasteners before you just go to town tightening the pair. So hook up the little hose back to this, this tray here. And you'll use the original Torx fasteners for these frontmost mounting points. We'll get one of them started, always goes good. And just go a couple turns in there. Everything's loose at this point. And then we'll move to the other side. This is the difficult one, because usually, as with any rack, whether it's a factory one or an aftermarket one, not everything lines up. So you can see I'm pulling the bar a little bit to get the hole to line up. You don't ever want to force these fasteners, you know, and try to get the fastener to get everything to line, you rely on the fastener to line up. You may just need to put some physical force on the bar itself to get everything to line up. So. There we go. So all the screws have been started for the rack. And now that we have all the fasteners started, we can resume tightening these fasteners here. So 4mm Allen key will do the trick for these two. And just go between the two fasteners. Back towards the front ones. And you just, they don't need to be over tightened. If you do want to use a torque wrench, about 7 foot-pounds is all you need. 10 Newton meters somewhere in there. So the nice thing about these new Faco rear racks is they accommodate the stock chrome cover that's found on the HPE Vespas. So that lines right up, and I line up the hole. You gotta sight it right through the little mounting hole there. And just take care not to over tighten this because it is plastic. And there you have it. So a very finished look, because the problem with the prior rear racks, they fit no problem with these new HPE bikes, but they're not specific for this new bike. So they don't have a very nice finisher for the rearmost mounting point. That includes the factory Vespa rack as well. The factory flat rack for the Vespa, it just has the ugliness of the hardware back there. So kind of a nice little touch that they did. So put the rubber back around the fuel cap. You can just kind of press that back in place with like a screwdriver, kind of get it seated all the way down. Cap back in place. under seat bucket. So there you have it, the GTS 24F-HPE rear rack. So you can fix this down. If you look in the description, I have the part number for the little piece that will fix this down if you like. Otherwise, you can hold it down with a bungee cord, put a blanket, just a temporary kind of classic looking rear rack for the Vespa HPE with the added function of having the grab rail here. We're gonna go ahead and install this Faco flat rack. Installs nearly identical to the GTS 24 folding rear rack. Part number for the flat rack with these new grab handles is GTS 29F. Please keep in mind this does not work with the factory top case. It does not have the single fastener in the middle, the mount of factory top case. It works with pretty much all the aftermarket top cases, soft bags, or you can just use as a rear rack, the bungee cord, whatever you want, or just have it for the looks, whatever you like there. So you set up the hardware pretty much the same. The pair of long screws with the two washers, so lock washer up against the screw, flat washer against the rack. And go ahead and flip that over, I'm holding the two. And then you put these thick washers with a dome towards the rear rack. That's like a new arrangement for the Faco rear racks, I noticed. It's a good idea because it kind of distributes the load when you put these racks on the back of the frame. So go ahead and flip the rack over with the hardware all set up. So holding the hardware in place and kind of just hold the rack and then get these started. So a little tricky to do for the first time. Just like the folding rack, pretty much line them up, get one of them started, then move on to the second fastener. And now that's started. So that's all you gotta do for these two, get them started. Go ahead and put the plastic fuel tank surround back on, hook up the little hose that's found only on the newer Vespas. Keep in mind these accessories will fit the older Vespa GTS as well. They just were specifically engineered for the newer body style design. Get all the fasteners in place, just started. And use the existing grab rail hardware to mount the frontmost mounting points of this fixed rack. So again, you may need to pull the rack into place. I'm looking straight down at the fastener just to kind of sight the hole. That's definitely, a lot of people are like, oh, it doesn't line up perfect. I'm like, well, none of this stuff lines up perfect, even the factory stuff. All needs a little manipulation sometimes to get it to line up. So since everything started, we can go around and tighten all these fasteners. Nice quality Faco stuff, all still made in Italy. Unlike a lot of other brands, there's like Prima and all that stuff's just made out of China nowadays. I'm a pretty national kind of person. Like stuff that's either made here in North America or Europe. One thing to keep in mind with all chrome products, if you want to last the longest, I would highly recommend just waxing it every couple months. Most people seem to forget that step. You know, in taking care of their scooter, they'll want to clean the scooter, but they forget you need to put a protective coating, even if it's really, really thin. Just regular automotive wax works great on chrome for like the paint. You put silicone spray on like a little rag, like very handy stuff to have, put on a paper towel, wipe it down, and the rack will last quite a long time, won't corrode. So, and just like the folding rack, the embellishment piece on the back will bolt right up. So again, you got to sight the threaded hole on there, and go ahead and just get the screw started, and just take care not to over tighten this. Just tighten it enough to pull it in place. And there you have it. There's the fixed rear rack. from Faco on this GTS 300 Super HPE in this beautiful yellow color. Check out the 3 other videos that we have related to these new Faco GTS accessories. There's a new set of crash bars that are specific for the HPE Vespa for the rear. There's a new front folding rack. In addition, that matches the rear folding rack, mounts specifically to this newer body style HPE GTS for the front. There's also the summary video, kind of shows all these accessories and how they look all together installed on the scooter. The thing I like about these Faco accessories, they're less expensive compared to the original Vespa accessories. All made in Italy. The fitment is typically great on all these accessories. There's a new fly screen that looks really good, patterned after the original Vespa fly screen, which is a very, very popular windscreen, even though it's a bit expensive. But check out all those videos coming soon. They'll kind of be coming out one by one, probably every couple days. I got some time. Now it's April 2020, make some videos. So I want to jump right on to the opportunity, make some more videos now that we've got some of these new fun accessories. Until next time, it's Robot here from Vespa Motorsport and scooterwest.com. Help us out, shop our website, scooterwest.com. We got you covered, whether you got a vintage Vespa or a modern Vespa. We keep everything in stock and always have a good amount of stock, unlike the competition.